Legions of One Direction fans spent the night outside Casa Sur Palermo Hotel in Buenos Aires, singing and crying as they lit candles in memory of one of their teen idols.
You know, it's funny, we talk about the cost of fame a lot on this show. And it's easy to get caught up in the gossip, the scandals, the kind of stuff that makes headlines.
Right.
But every so often, a story comes along that really makes you stop and think.
Yeah.
Makes you really reflect. And today's deep dive is one of those stories.
Okay.
We're looking at the life of Liam Payne, one of the members of One Direction.
Right.
A band I'm sure most people listening are very familiar with.
Huge band.
Yeah, one of the biggest boy bands really ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to take a look at Liam's life, his career.
Okay.
And try to understand the man behind the music a little bit better.
Yeah.
We've got news articles, some background on the band, even some glimpses into his personal life.
Sounds like a good amount of information to unpack.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. So let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
Sadly, we have to start with his passing.
Yeah.
Because Liam died recently.
He did.
And it's been all over the news, and, you know, it's tragic.
It is. It's incredibly sad.
Yeah. And to understand kind of the context of everything,
Yeah.
the news articles report that he was found at a hotel in Buenos Aires.
Right.
Tragically, at only 31 years old.
So young.
After a fall from a balcony.
Oh, wow.
There are hints that alcohol or drugs might have been involved,
Okay.
but it's still early in the investigation.
Right. So important to acknowledge that while avoiding speculation, I mean, it's really important we don't speculate.
Of course, of course.
But that potential link to substance use does unfortunately resonate with some of Payne's own openness about his past struggles with alcohol. He had actually just a few months ago announced 6 months of sobriety.
Wow.
Making this news even more heart-wrenching.
Absolutely, yeah. It adds such a complicated layer to this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like on one hand, he's moving towards recovery. On the other,
Right, exactly. This happens.
he reminds us that it's a journey, recovery.
Absolutely.
And it's not always linear.
Right, and it's a reminder that everyone's fighting their own battles. Behind closed doors, yeah.
He was actually in Argentina for a tour,
He was.
wasn't he?
Yes.
Although he had to postpone it because of a kidney infection.
Yes, that's right. He had these big plans to tour South America.
Oh, wow.
And he was even hinting at a new album he was working on.
Girl.
Calling it some of his most personal work yet.
Oh.
And to have that momentum cut short, you know, really amplifies the feeling of a life that had so much potential.
It's like we're getting these fragments of a life, and then it's cut short.
It's cut short, yeah.
But to really get into his journey, I think we need to rewind a bit.
Okay.
Because for many people, Liam Payne is synonymous with One Direction.
Right.
This band that took the world by storm after forming on the UK's X Factor back in 2010.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
A reality show spawning one of the biggest boy bands in history.
It's pretty incredible. It speaks to their raw talent,
Yeah.
their undeniable chemistry, and their ability to really tap into what the fans wanted, you know? Millions of albums sold, countless awards.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
They were everywhere.
I mean, who didn't blast What Makes You Beautiful at some point? Or belt out Story of My Life?
Everybody. Everybody.
It was like a collective coming-of-age experience.
It really was.
And within that whirlwind of fame, Payne always seemed like the grounded one.
He did. He really did.
You know, the responsible one.
Yeah, the one with his head screwed on.
Yeah, exactly.
Amongst all the chaos. Which is, you know, pretty impressive given what we know about some of the other band members back in the day.
It seems like Liam let the music speak for itself.
He did, and his contributions weren't just as a performer either. He was a really gifted songwriter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he even compared his co-written track, What a Feeling, to the iconic sound of Fleetwood Mac.
Now, that's fascinating.
Right.
Because you go from bubblegum pop to Fleetwood Mac, and it suggests a deeper musicality there.
Absolutely.
That often gets overlooked with boy bands.
Yeah, right, and it reveals this artistic depth that challenges the often too simplistic categorization of artists like that.
It's like he knew he was being put in a box.
Yeah.
And was trying to break free.
Exactly.
And to navigate those pressures, especially at such a young age, speaks to a certain resilience.
For sure. And he didn't shy away from discussing the challenges of fame either.
Yeah.
Especially the impact on his mental well-being.
Yeah, he was really open about that.
He was.
And that's something we need to talk more about. But first,
okay,
it really makes you think about the weight of expectations
Yeah.
when you're in that position.
Especially in the music industry.
And, for Liam, his solo career
Right.
really gives us some insight, I think.
It does. It gives us a glimpse into his evolution.
Yeah.
Not just as a musician, but as a person.
Yeah. And, his debut album, LP1, which came out in 2019,
Okay.
it had a totally different vibe.
And then
One Direction.
it was like he was stepping into a new chapter, experimenting with different sounds, different collaborations.
He was branching out.
Absolutely. And those collaborations weren't just random, He worked with artists like Quavo,
Right.
a Boogie Wit Da Hoodie.
Yeah, big names in R&B and hip-hop.
Exactly.
Strip that down. That track with Quavo, that was huge.
A massive hit.
And it felt like a really deliberate move to break away from that boy band image.
100%.
Like he was saying, I'm a solo artist. I can hold my own.
It showed a real awareness of where the music industry was going.
Yeah.
And I think a real desire to be part of that evolution.
It wasn't just the sound, though, right?
Yeah, you're right.
His lyrics on LP1 were way more personal.
They were more mature, more honest.
Yeah, he was singing about love, about heartbreak, about the pressures of fame.
He was bearing his soul a bit.
And it resonated with people.
It did.
It's tough because
What's that?
we'll never get to hear the album he was working on.
Right.
The one he was so excited about.
He said it was his most personal work yet, which is such a loss,
It is.
But even though he's gone, I think Liam's story has this powerful message.
Okay.
It's a reminder to embrace who you are,
Yeah.
To never stop exploring, to use your voice.
It's about authenticity.
Exactly.
And speaking of using your voice, we have to talk about the One Direction fandom.
Oh, yeah. The Directioners.
They were something else.
A force of nature, really.
The articles we've got here, they highlight just how dedicated they were.
They weren't just fans. They were like this global movement.
Oh, totally.
They propelled One Direction to the top.
Yeah. Albums, tours, everything.
And they did it all before social media was even a thing, really.
Well, they used social media.
That's true. They were ahead of the curve.
Twitter, Tumblr, they were all over it.
Organizing, campaigning, raising money for charity.
They were a community, and it wasn't just about the music.
What do you mean?
It was about belonging, It was about being a part of something.
We found a connection.
Exactly. And for a lot of those fans, Liam's passing. It's more than just losing an artist.
It's like a part of their youth is gone.
Right. It's a reminder that time moves on.
And that some chapters end too soon.
Their music was about friendship, about love, about never giving up.
Right. Classic boy band themes.
Yeah. But it makes you wonder, what was it like behind the scenes?
In the band.
Yeah, the pressure to stay unified, especially at that age.
Imagine being a teenager.
Right.
Dealing with global fame, the constant scrutiny.
And trying to maintain relationships.
It's a lot for anyone to handle.
But they made it work for a while.
They did. 5 albums, countless awards, sold-out tours.
It's incredible.
Testament to their talent and their resilience, for sure.
It's no wonder they decided to take a break in 2015.
Yeah, I can't imagine the pressure they were under.
Makes you wonder what would have happened.
If they'd stayed together.
Yeah. Or even just what their careers would look like.
If they hadn't hit it so big so young.
It's that bittersweet thing, right?
What's that?
We celebrate their individual journeys. But we also mourn what could have been.
Always the what ifs.
But it seems like they were still close, even after the split.
Yeah, the articles mention that.
They supported each other's solo stuff.
Publicly, at least.
And there were always those reunion rumors.
Fans never gave up hope.
Never say never, right?
Right, exactly.
It's just, it adds another layer of sadness to it.
It does.
Like this possibility of them reuniting
Yeah.
of a new chapter.
Right.
And it's just gone.
It makes you think about the other members, too.
Yeah.
They've all been really open about the importance of mental health and this loss. I mean, it must be hitting them really hard.
They were so young when it all started.
I know.
All that pressure, all that attention.
A different kind of pressure.
And to lose someone who shared that experience.
Yeah.
Someone who understood what it was like.
Who gets it? Yeah.
I gotta be tough.
It makes their advocacy even more important, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like their voices,
Yeah.
especially for younger fans who grew up with them.
Right, they idolize these guys.
Exactly. They need to hear this.
I really hope they use their platform
They too.
to talk about this.
Yeah, it's a generation that's more open about mental health, about getting help.
It's not taboo anymore.
Exactly.
And you know what? Liam's death.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that this can happen to anyone.
It's true.
Addiction doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't care how old you are.
He was only 31.
So young.
And it's easy to forget that,
Yeah.
when you see the headlines, the fame,
The money. the success
There's still a real person there,
behind all of that.
dealing with real problems.
You're struggling, yeah.
And, it wasn't just the alcohol.
What do you mean?
The circumstances of his death.
Right.
It suggests maybe he was overwhelmed.
Possibly.
Maybe he was struggling in that moment.
It's a reminder that addiction is complicated.
Yeah.
There's often other things going on.
Trauma, mental health issues.
Exactly.
We need to be more understanding.
Less judgmental, more empathetic.
Exactly.
Liam was open about his struggles.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot of people.
It made it okay to not be okay.
To talk about it, to ask for help.
So as we wrap up,
Yeah.
what do you think is the most important thing?
About Liam's story.
Yeah, what could we learn from his life, his career, his passing?
I think we have to remember the bigger picture.
Okay.
Liam was a talented musician,
Yes.
a dedicated dad,
Mm-hmm.
a young man trying to find his way.
In a very public way.
Exactly. And it reminds us that everyone has struggles
Behind closed doors.
and that asking for help is a sign of strength.
Not weakness.
We need to be kind to each other
Absolutely.
and to ourselves.
Liam's music brought joy to so many people.
It did.
And if his story
Yeah.
can help even one person
To get help, to talk to someone.
to feel less alone,
That's what matters.
Liam's legacy, I think, is one of honesty,
Honesty for sure.
resilience, and the importance of being yourself.
Authenticity. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Liam Payne. We hope this conversation encourages you to check in on your loved ones, to have open conversations about mental health, and to remember that it's okay to not be okay. Until next time, take care of yourselves.